Look down in your Bibles at verse 11. We skipped the first half of verse 11 for this reason. And this last point is just going to tie together the loose strings in the rest of this text. Verse 11, he has made everything beautiful in its time. That's an incredible claim. This is the Romans 8:28 of the Old Testament. God works all things together for good for those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. Solomon's way of saying that is that God makes all things beautiful in his time. That is, in God's time, in the grand scope of God's purpose and his sovereign plan for the world, he will work all things together for his good, for his glory, for our good. You could even say that will be beautiful. I just want to make a note on this word because for whatever reason, I think I know the reason, every sermon I've ever heard on this text has said the word beautiful doesn't mean beautiful, it just means good or appropriate. And I think that's because there's a particular commentary that just makes this naked assertion that the word beautiful doesn't mean beautiful. I can't figure out why, because he doesn't give a reason, but every single time the word yefeh is used in the Bible, it means beautiful. It's mostly used in Genesis to describe Sarah, she's beautiful, and it's used a whole lot in Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon, the singer says, "Come away with me, my beautiful one." Now, I just want husbands to try to go home and say, "Come away with me, my good, appropriate one." See how that goes. I think it's part of what Solomon is doing is he's picking up a powerful word to say God's sovereignty isn't just acceptable or tolerable, but in the end, when you see things from God's perspective, it will be beautiful. All things, exhaustively, thoroughly, even the things that are hard, painful, and even truly evil in this world, in the end will work together in such a way that we will say, that's beautiful. God's sovereignty is beautiful. Now, that's a hard thing to understand because there really are genuinely evil things in God's world. The only way I know to understand that is the way that Peter understands it, and that is to look straight to the cross, where Peter says that Jesus was delivered up by the definite plan and foreknowledge of God. That is, that the cross, which is, by any objective measure, the greatest evil that ever occurred in human history, the crucifixion of the sinless and perfect, infinitely glorious Son of God, the wicked and treacherous, unjust murder of the Son of God. If there is evil in this world, there it is, on a cross on the hill. That's wicked, and yet it was part of God's definite plan. In fact, in Revelation chapter 13, John says that the saints sing forever, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain before the foundation of the world." This was always part of God's eternal plan. The cross is not an accident. It's within the scope. It's at the center of God's exhaustive sovereignty. And yet, of course, the cross is simultaneously evil and the greatest good in the universe. It collects a people from every tribe, tongue, and nation to God's throne to worship him forever, redeemed, ransomed people, washed of their sins and purified to stand before God and to know him and enjoy him eternally. That's the greatest good that's ever happened. Now, if God can turn the greatest evil into the greatest good, then certainly he can turn the evils in our lives into good. He can turn our tragedies into triumphs, and he can reach into our sufferings, and he can bring us to salvation. And he doesn't have to tell us how or when he's going to do that, but because his sovereignty is exhaustive, and because his sovereignty is good, we can rest in the knowledge that this God will make all things beautiful, not in my time, but in his time. God's sovereignty is absolutely requisite if you're going to live life in a fallen world where you're not going to be able to escape injustice, evil, sin, disappointment, tragedy, sorrow. It's a reality in a fallen world. You have to navigate this world with this objective reality that the God of the universe is working all things together to be beautiful in its time.